Hey everyone, One Big Boss here. As you can tell by the title of the video that you clicked on, we are back with another episode to New to Retro Reviews. And today, we are going to be looking at Nightmare of Decay, a brand new survival horror game that just came out recently on Steam. And to be honest, guys, I almost passed on this. I actually almost passed on this and didn't even bother with it. Because when things get popular, a lot of the times for me personally, I can't play it. Everybody hypes something up so much to where I'm like, the hype kills it. I can't play this. I can't watch this. I can't read this. For me, that's how my brain is, right? But a lot of people who know me and know what I'm about, they came to me and said, nah, you gotta play this game. And then I had other people telling me that you gotta play this game. And there was something that someone said that really just made me go, all right, you win. I'm in. I'll buy it. PlayStation era graphics. Nightmare of Decay is literally a PS1 dream. If you loved the original styles of that polygon era back then in the 90s with games like Final Fantasy or Tekken or Resident Evil, then this game, it has those graphics. It has that era built right in. That's why it's new and a retro game at the same time in many ways. It's phenomenal. The walls in this game just ooze that old school style, and it's blended well into this new era of gaming that we live in. And I was glad that I streamed this with everybody in chat, and I was so happy to now do a review of it because I'm going to tell you guys right now, this game is amazing. And if they had asked for $15 for this game, I would have bought it. Plain and simple, guys, I would have bought it. So enough rambling, let's get to the actual reason why you're here, the review. So with that being said, let's start this, and here you go, guys, the review of Nightmare Decay. Let's go. Horror games are one of the best genres in the world of video games today. Games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Outlast, and even survival crafting horror games have made their way into the ranks of video game greatness. And because of that, legends were made. And from that comes the oversaturation. Not so much I really feel in the mainstream, but much more so in the indie scene. As I stated before, I'm not really into a lot of indie horror games or horror games in general. But this game had the graphics from an era from long ago that truly changed me as a gamer, so I was invested. The story starts you off as a faceless and silent protagonist who lives in a small apartment set during the events of people gone missing in a small town. Sounds pretty familiar if you've played old school Resident Evil. Also, this guy is living really low. Pizza and eggs in the fridge, not even a gaming poster on the wall. Okay, maybe he's a minimalist, but still, this is a pretty depressing life this guy lives here. But he does got a gaming PC, so that's probably where all of his money went. Eventually, you go to sleep and wake up trapped inside of a box which you break out of, and you find yourself outside of a mansion. Nothing is as it seems, and you already know this, that this is not your run-of-the-mill mansion. Once inside, you encounter nightmarish creatures, crazy cultists, and have to uncover the mystery of the mansion, and hopefully, get out alive. The presentation of this game is about giving you that old school era of PS1 graphics and survival horror, which it does pretty damn well if you ask me. This game doesn't hold your hand really. While it's pretty simple, it can be tough at times, and conserving ammo is a must, because you can't make ammo and some enemies are bullet sponges, and others just brush off weapons like they're nothing. Much like Resident Evil, you need to find certain treasures to do certain puzzles or unlock new areas, and if you're wondering if any of the puzzles are hard, nah, don't worry. They are pretty bare bones at the end of the day. You kind of find everything you need right around the same area, and even if some puzzles that you have to go back and forth through later on, you don't really get lost. The layout of the mansion isn't that vast, and you're not going to get too confused because a lot of areas don't really look the same, and I think that actually kind of helps for people like me who are pretty terrible at games like this at times. There's also a fun shooting gallery you can come across twice in the mansion. You'll be given a BB gun, and much like the shooting gallery from RE4, you have to hit the targets. Getting headshots would get you the bigger scores, but if you hit anywhere else, well, your points rewarded are cut in half, which is still pretty good to be honest. By doing this minigame, you get extra ammo, lockpicks, first aid kits, and things you're going to need much later for sure. So take some time and spend it at this range and get those high scores and get the items, and try to conserve them the best you possibly can, because the items you get here can really help you, especially in the lower levels of this game. There's even boss battles, and let me tell you, when you figure out how to deal with them, they aren't that tough, but finding out how to deal with them in the first place, let's just say, you're gonna want to save before these encounters, but more on that later. Along the way, you find out that the mansion has creeps and monsters all over it, and cultists with shotguns. And in time, you'll access new areas by completing puzzles and finding out more about what exactly happened to this house. It's kind of in the same way that you play any other horror game, to where it's not so much told in terms of what you see in cutscenes, but more so what you find in the mansion. The books, the diaries, the torn papers. That's what kind of gives you a clue as to what's really happening. And honestly, I've always liked that style of storytelling, and I think that's one of the reasons why, especially the original Resident Evil, and especially its remake, did so well with its storytelling. You'll also come across the kidnapped people from the town as well, even though some of them are already dead, or, well, let's just say they don't stick around that long. And it's kind of interesting to actually see other people in this mansion besides yourself, and to see what their mental state is by being trapped in here. I really shouldn't say it's interesting, because it's kind of disturbing what some of them do, but to be honest, it gives you another reason to really get involved in this game, because you kind of feel that the developers really want you to be invested on what's happening in this house, and I think they do a great job of that here. Okay, so enough of this kind of talk. We gotta talk about both the good and the bad things. Can't have one without the other at most times, you know? So with that being said, let's start off with the bad of this game. The story. While the story is simplistic, how it's handled makes you want to know more about what's going on, given that you're kind of left with a twist/cliffhanger at the end, which I assumed is teased for a sequel. But one of the things that doesn't really make sense is the hallucinations and nightmares that plagued one woman, and I assume the rest of the victims that ended up at the mansion. Because it happens to you, and you wake up inside, it doesn't really make sense why people suddenly are waking up here, and it never truly is explained. It's a minor gripe, honestly, and maybe I'm missing something or a file. Let me know if I did. If there is a future installment, I hope they kind of improve upon that. There is a point at the beginning of the game where you actually see this guy holding the severed head, and I'm not sure exactly what that connects to, or maybe if you see that, then that means they're just going to come for you too. Again, a little bit could have been done better on that, but this is also an indie game development, and I don't know how many people actually worked on this game, so for what we got in terms of the plot and how much it kind of just relates to a lot of older horror game tropes, I give it a little bit of a pass. I'm not going to harp on it too much, because again, I still did like this aspect of the story. Next up is the movement. This game doesn't have any kind of controller support whatsoever, so you're stuck on keyboard and mouse, and the mouse aspect actually worked for me, but honestly, the character's lack of motion, his horrible runtime, which you can't update in any way, shape, or form, feels like you're running through snow. It isn't the best, and this was one of the reasons why I got killed very often. Getting around certain enemies isn't easy, and I did get used to the controls at some point, but at the end of the day, I wish this had controller support, or was given something a little bit better. Legit, I died too many times being ganged up on by the baddies in this game because of the controls. That's kind of the other bad issue that I took with this too. If you're actually running from enemies and you somehow get hit from behind, you don't get away from that. More times than not, I died from that, and it was kind of a big issue, so I had to kind of reevaluate how I went through. This is one of the things that made boss battles really tough for me, and well, to be honest, I really wish this game had controller support. I think it would have been just a little bit better, but again, that's just me. I know there's a lot of people out there who can play on keyboard. I was never really a keyboard person. Like years ago in the early 2000s I was for certain stuff that I had on my computer, but I've been playing with controllers forever. So you can see why it might just be a little nitpick, and you can get through most of the game without any issues, but certain parts near the end of the game, let me just say, save your life. Save all your med packs, all your drinks, everything, because you're going to need them if you can't master the controls in this game. Some of the boss battles are pretty difficult, and at the same time, they're really not. You can get through most of these bosses pretty easily once you know what to do, but there is a steep learning curve because certain bosses, like the meat golem that you fight in the kitchen, who strangely sounds like Tim Allen grunting. I am not joking about this. It was actually really funny when I discovered this guy, and I was kind of hoping he wasn't going to be a monster. But fighting him was really difficult because he's so fast. There was no way I could run around the table at my top speed, turn around, fire, and get away from him. There just was no actual way to do this. Instead, what I found out was, and I don't know if this is breaking the game in some way, but I would leave the room, come back in, his area would be reset, so he'd be back in his meat locker or on the side to where I could actually just start hitting him with bullets, go back out of the room, come back in, and his life would actually still be what it was when I left. It doesn't reset itself. So I just threw dynamite at him, and I just pumped him full of lead and just kept coming in and out of the room. And again, not the way that I kind of want to face a boss like this, but in all honesty, yeah, some of the bosses like this, you got to find ways like that in order to beat them. I don't know, again, if it's part of how the creators wanted to do this originally, but it's just something that I kind of felt kind of took me out of it, having to go and do something like that. It's not terrible, but going back and forth in and out of a room, or I don't know, it just, for me, it just didn't work on that aspect. It's not it's not a bad thing, and if you can get around some of the later bosses by finding out their weaknesses like I did, then yeah. Oh, and plus, you know, having the Magnum when you get that really helps you out a lot. It's kind of awesome. The puzzles in this game, they aren't hard to solve at all. In fact, they are pretty basic. So if you're looking for as hard as nails challenge, it won't be here. Honestly, I feel with every puzzle piece that I got, the room that I was supposed to use them in, or the key that I was supposed to find, was kind of right next to each other. There wasn't really kind of a big premise on keeping items for a long time until you actually get to said area to use them. Kind of like how Resident Evil Remake had the 4 masks that you had to use, or the 5 masks that you had to use. That was something that was really cool, because you thought, okay, maybe I need to keep these for a while. No, you don't need those things for quite a while. But I will admit, when the game progresses and you get down through this tunnel and go to these underground areas, you actually have to find these silver discs and these plates, and, well, yeah, you gotta kind of search for these things at first. And so for that, I give them a little bit more credit. It's just, I think they may have made it a bit easier in the mansion, because they wanted the mansion just to be a little bit smaller and not kind of overwhelm you all at once. I just think that a little more emphasis on the puzzles difficulty should have been in place, because I think some of them were just a little bit too easy, especially at the beginning of the game. And now, the good. The graphics of this game, my god, does this game look great at what it's trying to take from. Look, it's obviously not going to be top tier levels like of something like Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us Part 2 or Spider-Man. That's not what this game is about. This game is about taking the games of yesteryear and paying homage to it and doing it right. No joke, these graphics are what influenced me to go and play this game. I'm having a blast with this as well. Like, this is everything that I loved about the old school horror games and that graphical generation of the PlayStation 1. Every room or yard or tunnel just fits so well in this game. It's crafted to be exactly what you see, and you can tell the creators went crazy for this. They put a lot of love into designing this place. I actually didn't feel bored with these designs. I've seen other horror games that have kind of done this before, and it's been very lackluster. But I see games like this, and I can see the love that has been put into this. And to be honest, it's really awesome. It just does everything like it should, and I'm very proud of this team for doing what they did. The gameplay. While I did say the controls were rough, playing this game is still very fun. Utilizing your various weapons you find throughout the game and conserving, trying to sway past enemies in wider areas or even smaller areas, because let me tell you, with the handgun at least, these enemies are super bullet sponges. Pecking them off from a distance is fine and all, but let me tell you guys right now, up close and personal, you're going to have to switch to the shotgun, because your handgun isn't probably going to save the day for you when they get close to your face and give you a couple of good chomps. But it really gives off that old zombie vibe feel from the Resident Evil games on the PlayStation 1 era. I mean, hell, even the Hunters were bullet sponges back in the day. Exploring room from room, hearing screams off in the distance, exploring new areas that are well thought out, not too spaced out, the boss battles, despite my issues, all serve the game well in this. You really just feel the love put into this game to replicate older titles while also making this stand out on its own. And again, maybe it's my connection to this era of horror games from back in the day, maybe it's some nostalgia goggles, but I never truly felt bored when exploring the mansion. I think that this thing was, for the most part, evenly paced very nicely, and while some parts of the story do get a little weird and aren't really super explored, I really do love what you come across by exploring every inch of this place. It's kind of amazing just to break open pots and barrels and crates or find a save room randomly when you really need it. They've done a really great job at emulating that feeling of needing these things, and honestly. Maybe I'm just reading a little too deep into it, but I really do love that aspect of this game. Again, I feel that the creators of this just really wanted to give us that good old school experience. The unlockables. As far as I can tell, there is only one ending to this game. Somewhat expected though, but honestly, that didn't bother me too much. Upon concluding the game, you unlock 2 new extra modes for you to play, as well as a hard mode, which is available at the beginning of the game. And I feel that this game on hard mode would be really tough. Actually, a good challenge to play if you like those kind of hardcore modes, which a lot of older games have had in the past. And for that asking price of $5, getting 2 modes you unlocked at the end of a decent play time of 3 hours, to which the old GRE games can be beaten in less time, yeah, the unlockables may be small, but it's pretty awesome that they even did that much for us with this game. I really truly believe that they want to give us the best experience possible from the old days, and with a lot of games making that kind of comeback into making games fun again, or at least borrowing from the old ones, I think this company is the one that has done it right, better so than a lot of other developers out there in this day and age. There you have it. That is the review for Nightmare of Decay, a game that I almost passed on, and I'm glad I listened to the people who do know me and what I really enjoy. Again, this game was absolutely phenomenal. I loved every minute of it. I never really felt that there was a moment where I was just kind of like, oh god, I want this to end. I have my gripes with this game, of course, like I said in the review. And there could be a lot more polished in certain areas. But you know what? It's an indie game. I give it a lot of passes for it because it was still a fun, functioning, and amazing game at the end of the day. And if there is a sequel or a Kickstarter for a sequel, I'm dumping $100 right into this right now. I'm telling you that, because this game was phenomenal. And for someone, again, who is not a massive fan of a lot of horror series because of overactive imagination, I get nightmares easily, I want a sequel. I want to see where the story goes and what it continues and what they do. Like, what's going to happen in that mansion if it comes back? What's with the cat? What's with that creature that pulled you in at the end? There is so much that I want answered. And that's what I want to see if there's ever a part 2 to this game. So, you've heard me ramble on about this long enough. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, because I want to know other people's feelings about this, because I know I have a lot of Resident Evil fans and Silent Hill fans here on my channel, so I want to know what you all think personally of this game. So, that being said, please thumbs up and subscribe, because it's free, and this day and age, free's a damn good thing, right? As always, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching this video. If you can give it a like and a share, that'd help my channel out big time. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where I'm most active, links down below in the description. Also, make sure you click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted and when I go live for streams here on the channel, which I do regularly. If you want to become a Patreon to help me out, you get cool perks just for joining, such as early access to reviews and monthly hangouts on my Discord with me. Many thanks again, guys. Greatly appreciate it.